How you doing, Olivia? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hi, how you doing? Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Oh, hmm, that's weird. Hello? Still nothing? You can hear me? Okay, good. Okay, fantastic. Right. I'm doing fine. Now I can hear you really good. So, okay. Oh, it's okay. Fantastic. Right. Okay. Is that better? Okay. Yeah, right. Right. Tofa. Sounds good. Well, I'm ready to go. Yeah. Technology. Right. My name is Paul Dale Roberts. I'm a demonologist, and I specialize in demon cases. So I get a lot of calls on things that are demonic, and I do cleansings. I do a Roman Catholic house blessing. My wife, Deanna Jackson Stinson, she does a metaphysical cleansing, and we also too do full submersion baptisms. And if you have an attachment, it's a basic form of exorcism. And when you do a full submersion baptism, the entity that's attached to you is gone. I have what is called the Paranormal Hotline. So I get calls from throughout the United States. It's people who have problems and they call me. Now, if they're in our general area, we'll actually go over there and do an investigation and we'll do a cleansing. I've been interested in the paranormal since as a young child. I lived in a haunted house. Terrible things happened to me. The entities were focused on me, and so I grew up reading books by Brad Steiger and all types of paranormal books. So my path was headed down to becoming a paranormal investigator. And I also, too, when I was in the military, I was in military intelligence. I worked with CID, Criminal Investigation Division, with the drug suppression team. So that helped me with my investigative skills. I was always interested in the paranormal. So when I would go on a vacation, I would stop by at places that were actually haunted, or I was looking for UFO activity, um, looking for crop circles. So I've been to 59 countries, and I've been doing this almost all my life. I've had the craziest investigations with demonic activity. I had a situation where a lady right in front of us became possessed. And before I knew it, she was throwing off her clothes. She was climbing up her shower bathroom, and she was screaming and yelling. And so I've seen some really crazy things. I've seen a very skinny woman who was possessed, and she threw a 350-pound man by pushing him and knocking him over. So I've seen some really, really crazy things. The family was from Massachusetts. They were from. They told me that they were of German descent, and they said they had a situation where their daughter and two boys, they had three children, had a run-in with Krampus. The daughter, with her two girlfriends, were playing with a Ouija board, and the name that came on the Ouija board was the name Krampus. So all of a sudden, they're now being haunted by an entity named Krampus and some other little character named Limey. And Limey was harassing the little boys, the two little boys. They would see it darting around the kitchen table. It would pop out of the closet and all kinds of stuff. And after Limey appeared, that's when Krampus appeared. So the two boys, they saw Krampus. It was like two red eyes, an entity with horns coming out of the closet. And this Krampus creature whispered into the daughter's ears and said that he was going to punish her for her misdeeds, whatever her misdeeds were. So Krampus was basically an entity that somehow manifested from the Ouija board. And a lot of my cases, my demonic cases, things originate from the Ouija board. And when I heard this story, it was like, was this some type of demon that was impersonating Krampus, a fictional character, or was it some type of tulpa? And a tulpa is basically something that if you think of so hard, it will manifest. And Walter B. Gibson, he's the creator of the Shadow, and he thought of his character, this pulp fiction character, so hard that it actually manifested and came into his home. So when he had friends and family over at his home, they said, "Hey, we see this guy in your home. He has a black, dark brim hat. He has a red scarf and a long nose." Well, they were actually describing his character, the Shadow. So it was something that he manifested, and it actually appeared in his house. So I'm wondering if Krampus, after they played with the Ouija board, it was something that they really thought of and constantly were thinking of, and did it actually appear in their home? So all types of terrible things happen to him. So with this Krampus character, she was actually poked in the eye, and her eye was bleeding profusely. And they took her to the hospital, and her eye stopped bleeding, and everything was normal. So like it never happened. So I'm not sure exactly if it was, like I said, the demon impersonating Krampus, or was it really some type of tulpa? But something happened to this family, and they went on vacation to Florida, and when they came back, they learned that their house burned down. So, but now, the last time I talked to them, they said they don't have any more problems with Krampus. So after the house burned down, their curse of this Krampus curse is now gone. Right. It was something that was placed into their mind by their parents. Their parents were told the Krampus story, and they passed it down to their children. So they always believed that Krampus was real, just like they believed that Santa Claus was real. And talking when I had a follow up with the parents, yes, um, they told me that their children have PTSD from the experience. They wake up in a cold sweat. They still have dreams, but they're not actually being bothered by this entity. Okay. Well, as for the entity, the actual Krampus entity bothering them, touching them, um, poking them in the eye, whatever, all those things stopped. It's just that it's still in their mind. They think about it. They have the PTSD, and they do have nightmares about it. It's the same thing like with a Vietnam soldier. They're not in the war anymore. The war is over, but they still wake up in that cold sweat. They still think about the war. So that yes, they still think about Krampus. Absolutely. Um, I don't think they'll ever mention Krampus to their children when they have children, but it'll always stay ingrained in their mind as something that'll never go away. Oh, okay. Okay. It's, exactly. Say it one more time. What you want? Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay. I have what is called a paranormal hotline, so I get calls throughout the United States. So I get all types of calls. Calls on UFOs, calls on Bigfoot, calls on Chupacabra, calls on demons. Mostly demons because that's what I deal with, demons. So a family from Massachusetts actually contacted me and said that they were actually haunted by two entities, Krampus and some little gnome creature called Limey. And they said that their daughter, with her two girlfriends, were playing with a Ouija board. And somehow they manifested this entity called Krampus because the name on the Ouija board was Krampus. And it's something that they always knew about because they learned it from their parents about Krampus. There's something was passed on down there in their family because they're German descent. And this entity, Krampus, whispered in the little girl's ear that he was going to punish her for her misdeeds. And one of the punishments was being poked in the eye with some type of sharp object. Her eye started bleeding profusely. Her mother rushed her to the hospital. And when they got to the hospital, her eye stopped bleeding and her eye was completely normal, like it never happened. So that was one weird thing. And the other weird thing that happened was this creature, um, the two little boys saw Krampus with red eyes and horns popping out of a closet. They also too saw this little gnome-like creature, this limey creature, running through the kitchen underneath the table, popping out of closets and everything else. So they had all these little issues going on, and the family, they had to get away from the house, so they went on vacation to Florida. And when they came back to Massachusetts to their home, it was burnt to the ground. And talking to the family, there was something they had to get out because they saw this thing about this Krampus movie or whatever. They had to tell their story and they wanted to remain anonymous because they don't want to be sounding like they're crazy. And they said that after the house burned down to the ground, they were never bothered by Krampus again. But the children, they feel, have PTSD. Even the parents feel they have PTSD because they still think of Krampus. They have nightmares about Krampus and they wake up sometimes in a cold sweat. So it was a very traumatic experience for this family. Krampus basically is something that was passed down orally. It was like oral history of Krampus. He was like the opposite of Santa Claus. So if you did something bad, you were visited not by Santa Claus, but you were visited by Krampus. And Krampus was known to sometimes steal children. Um, he was definitely left cold for children who did misdeeds. He basically punished children if they did wrong. And he's the opposite of Santa Claus. I would basically, as a demonologist, bless the home. I do a Roman Catholic house blessing. I use holy water. I bring my psychic medium wife, Deanna Jackson Stinson, and she does a walkthrough to see what she can feel. And she helps me a lot because she'll be able to point out where the ghost is or where the entity is. And then I get the evidence, either do a picture with a camera, and I'll get an anomaly in my photograph showing that the entity is there. Um, the family, I would probably do a full submersion baptism because they sound like they might have an attachment, and that's a basic form of exorcism, and that attachment will immediately leave. Absolutely, if you're projecting something that's evil, it'll manifest, and that becomes your tulpa. Right now, the biggest thing is the fictional character Slender Man. Slender Man doesn't exist, right? But now you're getting reports throughout the United States of people actually seeing Slender Man, and and what they're seeing is a tulpa, a Slender Man. He's manifesting because people think about him all the time, especially the young teenagers. Okay. A tulpa is basically something that manifests from your mind because your mind, your brain, produces energy. It has neurons, you have protons, you have atoms. That's all energy. So basically, what you're doing is you're projecting that energy. Same thing like with poltergeist. You have children who are going through puberty and they're projecting so much energy that energy is projected and it manifests to whatever they're thinking about. So they're thinking about Krampus, they're thinking about Slender Man, they can project it with their mind because it's a pure form of energy. Uh, I'm going to have you repeat that, but my train of thought was on something on the Ouija board. Also, too, you were asking me how I would cleanse it. Okay, the Ouija board I would definitely get rid of. And the way to get rid of a Ouija board is actually burying it in hollowed ground. That would be like a cemetery where it's been blessed. You can bury it there. Or you can throw it into a river because you have the energy from the river which flows down, and you place holy water on the Ouija board, say a prayer, bless it, taking away any negative energy, and then tossing it into the river. But go ahead, your question. What was it? Right. Okay. A demon will take on many forms. So it'll either be a very handsome man, or a very beautiful woman, or it could be something very hideous. Whatever it wants to manifest, if you're thinking about Krampus, the demon might be playing tricks on you and say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look like Krampus. That's what they're thinking of. That's what I'm going to become. And that demon is impersonating Krampus. And that family, very well, either they had a tulpa or they had a demon impersonating Krampus. The image of Krampus that you see, there's various pieces of art where the artists, however they depict Krampus, they know it's something bad. They know it's something evil. So they're going to go ahead and create something that looks evil. Of course, Krampus horns. They got to put the horns on him. They got to make his face not so pretty, so make it hideous. So it's the artist's depiction of what Krampus looks like, and they want him to look evil, and that's what they did.